This is the interface of Adobe Illustrator, and this is what it looks like. This is actually Adobe Illustrator CC 2019. Okay, so when you open your Adobe CC 2019, I think your CC 2017, 2018, it has this interface. Okay, so when you open this, you have your file. This will call an artboard. Your artboard is where you do all your work, all your designs, and this is what you actually export as your final product or work. And I mentioned earlier that Adobe Illustrator is used to create vector-based files. So when we talk about a vector-based file, it's a file that does not pixelate easily, unlike images used in Photoshop, which pixelate. And when we talk about pixelating, it's about losing quality, blur. So when you zoom into a raster image, it blurs easily, and that blur is what we term to as pixelate. But for Illustrator files, they don't pixelate easily, and that's the reason Illustrator is recommended for your logo designs, since logos can go on billboards, go on any media, print media with a large or small format and still maintain the same quality. So that's the reason we use Illustrator for a lot of print work, because it gives you a very clearer, sharper result. So this is the interface. I'll just dive into what uh, telling us how to navigate this and what everything here stands for. So I'll start from the most important aspect here, the most important thing here, and that's our toolbar. Okay, in your toolbar, you have a wide range of tools. Your tools help you achieve your design aim. Okay, if you want to talk about your test, you want to work on test, you have to go to your type tool and click on your type tool to be able to type on your artboard, to write on your artboard. If you want to move objects, you have to go to your selection tool to be able to move objects. If you want to draw shapes, custom shapes, you use your pen to draw, to make sketches. If you want to clean a particular error, whatever, we have our eraser tool, which helps you do that. We have our shape tool, rectangle tool, rounded rectangle tool, eclipse tool, which helps you draw ovals and circles, and polygon tool, which helps you draw shapes with different sides. And we have our star tool. We also have flare tool here, a lot of tools. All right, so it's really not super important to master every tool immediately. So you just start with mastering the important tools, which are really fundamental. And as you learn further, you need to master every tool. So it's just learning one tool at a time. That's how it actually works. So these are the different tools, and we're going to be working with a whole lot of them during the course of this graphic design course. After this, we have what we call our control panel. Our control panel is just at our right hand side, and what it means is you can make adjustments. It gives you power and access to more adjustments for any which is selected. Any tool which is selected, our control panel gives you good access to make more corrections. Okay, so you'll be able to make a lot of corrections, adjustments. If you're using your type tool, you want to control the typography you're using. You can select the typography, select if you want to use a bold font, semi bold font, condensed, italic, whatever. You have that selection there. The font size, the kerning, the leading, the line spacing, the paragraph, whatever you want to do. So this gives you a whole lot of room, okay, more room to make adjustments to any tool. If you select your brush tool, it's going to give you a new control panel. So control panel gives you more room and more access to make adjustments and corrections using the particular tool which is selected. So how do you know if a particular tool is selected? When you select a particular tool, It's actually highlighted. All right. So the selection tool is active and you can see it's highlighted. So any tool that is highlighted is actually the tool that is active. And you do that by just moving your mouse to the tool and clicking. Now, in each tool, you find out that some of the tools have little arrows beneath them. So what that means is that tool have sub tools, all right, in them, more than one tool. So look at our type tool now. How do you access other sub tools there? What you do is either you right click to access them, or you click and hold. That's you left click and hold. It's going to pop out the other tools right there for you to select from. So we're also going to look at how these other tools work and what they are used for. Okay, so that's how you pop out more tools. So it shows you that some tools have that small arrow having more tools, while some don't. Okay, so anyone that doesn't have it, you just understand that that particular tool is just a single tool. Okay, and I've talked about our control tool, control panel, sorry, yes, control panel and our toolbar. Okay. What else? What I'm going to talk about now is our menu bar. Our menu bar is just above. Above, that's the very first thing you're going to find when you open your Adobe interface. Okay. So where you have your file, your edit, your object, your type, select, effect, view, windows, help. Okay. So here you can create new files. Okay. On your file, you can create a new file. You can open recent files. You can open saved files in your system already, and a whole lot of other functions here. All right. So the menu bar, you use it for a variety of things, even in your design work. All right. There are times you really need them. In your menu bar, even gives us access to what we also have in our control bar for typography. So you're going to see more here, and select effects. Yeah, effects gives a whole lot of room to make adjustments, make add more design flair to your work, especially if you're making a flyer. Okay. But we're just going to take things gradually and see how you apply a whole lot of things here in design. Then we have what we call our workspace. Our workspace is the workspace is where you actually make adjustments. So I can actually rearrange. You can custom your Illustrator interface. Okay, you can custom it yourself and decide to do it for you. Um, you custom it and design how you want it to look like, depending on the work and the tools you want really to access very fast. Okay, so hello, Faith, please can you mute your mic? Thank you. All right. So back to what I was saying, you can actually custom your illustration to how you want it to look, how you want it to feel for you. Okay, so for example, I have my color panel here. So how do you add panel? So if you look at this place, if you're just opening your Illustrator for the first time, this your panel bar might actually look blank. So I'm going to show you how to add stuff here. So you see this, I just move this out. I can decide to expand it. I can decide to expand it, you see, and I can decide to leave it here. All right. So this is how you just make adjustments. Look, I can move it any I want. All right. So how do you bring things to your panel? You just simply go to your Windows and you're going to find a whole lot of options here in your panel. Let's say, for example, yes, for example, I want brushes to come up on my panel. All I need to do is click on brushes, and there you go. It's just going to pop up like this. And what you need to do to just make your interface neat, just simply drag it to your panel, and my brushes have been added. Gradients, all I need to do is drag it here, and that's it. That's it. So if you have your Illustrator opened, you can just try that out. It works too for CS6 for those of us using the CS6 version. All right, so you can check that out and see if that works. So that's just a way for you to organize your own interface and make it easier, giving yourself a faster and easier workflow. So if you know these are the tools you use more often, you use the gradient tool more often, you use your brush tool more often, you use your pen tool more often, it's just best keep them within your reach so you can actually access them as fast as possible. So I use colors a lot. That's the reason I have my color guide and colors right here top. So it's just that you have them up here so you can easily access them. So you can, what I was actually saying earlier was customing this interface to suit you and make your workflow faster, easier, and easier at the same time. All right. So quickly, this basically the overview of what Adobe Illustrator looks like. All right. So the last time we spoke about typography, we talked about the classes of typography when we talked about our serif, sans serif, our script fonts, and our decorative fonts. Okay. And then we proceed further to talk about when we were done with talking about them, we talked about terminologies in typography. So I'm just going to show us now how typography works in Illustrator. So the typography, we do typography using what we call our type tool. Type tool. So just check your toolbar, the tool having the letter C. Okay. If you can't use your mouse to go there, the shortcut to read is C. Just strike C on your keyboard and it's going to take you straight up to that tool. Okay, so we have our type tool, and when you have your type tool, it's going to show up as a cursor like this. And all you need to do, what it's telling you, this tool is not yet activated. So we go to our workspace. All right, we go to our artboard actually, which is our workspace where we're going to be designing, and all you need to do is click and that tool is going to be activated for you. If you're using a CSS, you're not going to see this auto filler coming up. It's just going to blink for you, telling you you can type now. So now we can type a text on our workspace, typography. So now that we have typography, I'm going to now go back to clicking the selection tool. All right. So when I click the selection tool, what happens is I can move my text around. All right. I can click and hold and move my text around to anywhere I want. All right. Around my artboard or workspace. So now we're going to apply those principles we talked about, the terminology. There's Adobe's official default font. When you open Adobe, we call it the Myriad Pro. All right, that's the name of this font. So if we want to change the name of this font, we want to change this font and use a different font, and we use our control panel. Our control panel helps us do that and make adjustments like changing the font size, looking at the spaces in between letters, which we talked about, and we term using the term Kern, and talked about line spaces using the word lead, Lead. Okay, so this is where you make all that adjustment. So first of all, this my test is actually small. So I want to increase the size of this font. I want to make it bigger. All you need to do is come to your control panel. I believe for CSS, you're going to find this character, your control panel at the top. Just check and see if you can find where you can change your font type at the top and font size. So I first of all go to font size, which is measured in points. It's in 12 now, and I want to increase it. I want to really make it very big. So I'm going to try using 50, and you can type it, and there you go. The size is going to go up. I still want it bigger, so let me try 72. Just type 72, enter, and it's going to get bigger. All right. So now that we have this, I want to change the font type. It's Myriad Pro, and I want to use, let's say, a Lasso font. So you can change the font, okay? A Lasso font, all right. Lasso black, actually, and there you have it. Let's make this even bigger because I want to show us bigger terminologies, and I really want you to see it clearly, as clear as possible. So yes, I'm switching this to, let's take it down a bit. Let's do 90. All right. So I'm sure we can see this clearly. Can you see my text clearly? Please let me know on the chat. All right. So now that we have this here, this is the default. All right. This is the default here. When you type, every typography is designed with a particular spacing. So they come with their default letter spacing, and they come with their default line spacing. Okay. But the thing is, every typography, when they were being designed, were designed for a specific purpose. So what happens is you might not understand the purpose for which this font was designed, and then if you use it ordinarily, all right. Thank you, Janet. You can hear me. If you um, use it the way it was designed, then you might have readability issues. All right. So it's important to look at the typography and actually ensure that it's readable, applying letter spacing, applying line spacing too. So, well, then with this, it's in default, all right, which is 0. So if you go to your control panel, you're going to find a panel where you have arrows pointing in opposite direction. All right, with an inscription highlighted VA. All right, VA. So what you do is you look, if we want to control the Ken, that's letter spacing in this typography. What you simply do is click on the scale, and we have either reducing it. If you're going to -10, -25, -50, you find out that the letters become closer together. But if you go down 5, 10, 25, 50, we're finding out that the spacing is just increasing. The space between letters is increasing, and it's even. That's the reason it's important to use this tool. Find out that it's really even. So depending on your project and what you're working on, so that determines how spaced you want your letters to be from each other. All right. So I'm going to copy this and paste here, and we're going to look at what we call the leading, the line spacing. and it's in the panel where you have arrows pointing in opposite direction, up and down. So that tells you we're talking about space, all right, between words. And right now, you can have auto. It's in auto, and you can actually set it. Okay, so you see what's happening. If it's smaller, they are clumsy. Now I want to separate it. Sometimes for most fonts, the autos are usually look good, but some exceptions do happen, and that's the reason it's important to understand how you manipulate your kerning and your leading, your letter spacing, your line spacing is really, really important. So we go back to auto, which is really okay. All right. And we also have what we call our paragraph styles. So you have the center aligned, left aligned, right aligned, justified. So that if you use adult Microsoft Word, rather than we talk about justification of text, we're talking about all of the text aligning both on your right and on your left hand side. So I'm just going to show some a practical example of what I mean by that. Let's reduce this text now. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to show us what that means. Okay. Will this really interpret that for me? All right. So, so let's look at this. This on left aligned right now. If you want the center aligned, this is what happens. When we click on the center aligned paragraph instead, and when we click on right aligned, this is exactly what happens. Justification. Now, this text doesn't really need a whole lot of justification, but if it was a test that was showing that, okay, to use your justification in Illustrator, you have to draw a text box, all right? So how do you draw a text box? What you do is click on your type tool, hold and drag. So you draw a text box. What you're trying to tell Illustrator is I want my test within this region. No matter what's happening, let my test remain aligned in this region that I have drawn. Test boards help a lot to organize your test and make your work really professional and neat. So when we draw a test board, this is what we get. Okay, so if I want to align, yes, it's justified right now. And this what happens exactly when we take our left alignment, center alignment, right alignment, right um left aligned and justified. Then we have the center aligned and justified. We have our right aligned and justified, and we have the last one which is entirely justified. You get everything is just straight. It's in the way the text looks. And now, if you're justifying this and you actually, let's go, let me look for thing. Yes, exactly. So if you're justifying this and you're seeing a whole lot of hyphens, like the text continues on the next line, sometimes it really doesn't work well for readability. So what we do to remove this is actually clicking more options in your paragraph panel. If you go to your paragraph panel, there are three dots there, giving you more options, and all you need to do is deactivate hyphenate. When you deactivate that, it's just going to take off your hyphens in the text. Okay, so it depends on what you're working on and how you really want to present it. Now, looking at this text here, it really looks kind of clumsy. Okay, kind of clumsy. Probably that's because although it's written in another language, but just looks too clumsy for readability sake. So trying to spacing it out a bit would work here. So we go to our leading panel. You get here to set our leading here, and it can also, let's try too much. If 24 gives us space, we can then do 25. Okay, to just space it out a little bit more, and we can try removing it from black and then using regular. Okay, all right. So these are just ways that you can play around the text to talk about readability. Remember, that's what's most important. So we've learned how to select our type to type a text, be able to adjust our kerning, and at the same time, be able to be able to good. At the same time, be able to adjust our line spacing. So these are very important things you should understand, and also the font size. Okay, so they really matter. Now, in this, what we've created now seems more like a hierarchy to me. So look at this now. When you look at this, what do you see first? You see typography, then you're going to see this text next, and then this finally. Now, even if with this contrast pattern that we have just created, if I move this, now I'm using my selection tool to move, remember, if I move this typography below and move this here, okay, all right, there's still a high chance that at first glance, this is going to get your attention first before this and before this, despite the arrangement. So hierarchy, visual hierarchy works on really explains how the eyes moves. You get, which we're going to talk about more and learn about in the duration of this course. Okay, so this is the brief introduction in Adobe Illustrator. I'm going to dive now to I'm going to go now into talking about talking about Canva. Let's look at Canva interface, what Canva looks like. Okay, it's pretty much same thing what we have in your phone. All right, if you already have, okay, Emeka was asking how do we drag. Okay, just hold your mouse, okay, down and drag. All right, your left click on the object. When you select selection, hold, okay, you select your selection is activated, ensure it's activated. Click on the tool, what you have here, you just hold and you can drag it. All right, so just drag on your screen. Okay, so we move over now. Let's talk about Canva. Okay, so I'm going to stop presenting this.